applies to Jesus. I'm asking you, when he was led to slaughter, did he open his mouth? Did he ever defend himself? Did Jesus defend himself?
There were times where he was quiet.
There's times when we're all quiet, but when you say he's led as a sheep to the slaughter and he didn't open his mouth, it means he did not like defend himself at all. But Jesus did verbally defend himself.
Let's look at the verse so we see what the verse is saying. What verse is that? Verse
7, Isaiah 53:7.
So it says, he was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that was led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that was before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. There were times when Jesus, they were asking questions. If you look at the accounts, there were times where he was quiet. But again, Robert, you're missing the point. You keep going on this little tiny points, right?
No, but it's not a little tiny point. It's just that nothing is matching, right? He did open his mouth. He did defend himself.
There were times where he was quiet.
There's times when we're all quiet. But then Isaiah 53 could just apply to any of us on being quiet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, I see. Okay, go on. Can I respond?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
please.
so you are missing the point. The point is we have a righteous servant of God. Okay, we have someone who the scripture.
Servant of God or God?
We're going on Isaiah 53 right now, okay? And it's very clear in Isaiah 53, it talks about a servant of God. He's righteous, and based on his righteousness, he was going to be beaten, he was going to be cut out of the land of the living. Because for the sins of my people,
yes,
someone is going to, and it says that, through my righteous servant will people be justified. Okay?
Yeah.
So we have a servant that is going to suffer being killed because of sin.
Right.
That is the main point. I don't want you to pick out whether he was silent or not. We know if you want to.
But the reason that's relevant for me is because basically the way I see it, you're taking one part of the prophecy that does apply, but then there's other prophecies within Isaiah 53 that don't apply. So for me, this is problematic because either it applies fully or it doesn't apply. That's the way I see it.
For example, it says that when it says he didn't open his mouth, there were times where they were insulting Jesus. If you look at the account, it says he didn't open his mouth.
He had not done any violence.
He's done no violence. Yes, that's what Jesus did.
He didn't do violence.
No violence, no.
When he went into the temple and he overthrew the tables.
That's not violent.
That is not violence.
That's called violence against property, right? There's violence against property.
It's not violence.
No, there's violence against property.
So you're picking out stuff. So would you say Jesus is violent?
I would say in that moment he was violent, and had the police been there at that moment, they would see him as violent.
Did anybody describe? Okay, show me.
If I'm on the tube, if I'm on the London tube and I'm kicking the chair and I'm banging the window, I'm being violent. Yeah, I'm not being violent against a person though.
Show me anywhere Jesus was described as violent.
No, I'm saying that behavior is violent. Pure and simple, that behavior is violent.
In your opinion?
No, in the opinion of any reasonable person. If I was on the London tube, smashing in the windows, right, and kicking the chairs and kicking somebody's stroller, yeah, I mean, in the minds of anybody, including you, especially if it's a Muslim with a beard, that's a violent Muslim then, isn't it? So Jesus was violent in the temple.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you came to your home and your children was in your home, yes?
My what? I'm sorry?
In your home.
Yes.
And they were doing things that were Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. And they were doing things that displease you, right? Let's say they were gambling.
Yeah.
You came home, children gambling. That displeases you. You turn over the table. You whip the children. Are you violent?
Yes, understand my point. Yeah, no, listen, understand my point. I'm not saying that it's unjustified violence. Understand the point. I'm not suggesting Jesus did something unethical or immoral. I believe his behavior was justified because he's a prophet of God. You believe it's justified because he is God. But the question is it violent nonetheless? Remember, violence is not always a bad thing. I'm not somebody who believes violence is always bad and evil. I'm not suggesting he's being evil or immoral or unethical, but was he violent? Did he commit violence against property? Yes, he did. It doesn't match with Isaiah 53.
Brother, you're missing again. So
and there's more to come. That's more to come.
There's no explanation of of Jesus. That's what I'm saying to you. You're missing the point, and I want to ask a question to you because you've been asking us questions, right? How come the Quran doesn't recognize? We know in prophecy, and this is not just, it's not here, it's not just in Isaiah 53. It's there in Daniel 9, it's there in Zechariah.
Can we look at Daniel 9 for a minute?
Yeah. Daniel 9. It's there in Zechariah when it says, when Yahweh was saying.
Well, one thing at a time. One thing at a time.
Let's go to Zechariah. We'll come back to Daniel.
I don't know if I trust you on Zechariah anymore.
Okay,
after you had that word wrong about the branch,
I didn't have it wrong.
you said it's Nazar.
I said it is Nazar.
No, but come on. But we looked at an interlinear Bible. No, but
I'll get my reference. I said to you, I'll get my reference.
My sister, listen. You can.
I'll get my reference.
I know that's fine. Not everyone has references right here. But where will you go to get the reference? Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Zechariah 3:8.
I admit that I didn't give you the correct reference.
Thank you.
I'll look through it next week.
It's not that you gave the wrong reference. I believe Matthew gave us a wrong reference. I believe he quoted something that doesn't exist, or it's from possibly a different Tanakh, a different Septuagint.
I will look into that.
Yeah.
It could be that. I don't know. Let me look more into that.
It could be that.
It could be that he was quoting from the Septuagint.
Right, because there are different versions of the Old Testament. You would acknowledge that.
They're not different versions. They're different manuscripts. So the Septuagint, if you know, do you know the difference between the Septuagint and the Masoretic?
Yes.
What is the difference?
Well, I mean, one is in Hebrew and is kind of Jewish backed. One is Septuagint is a Greek translation of the Old Testament.
So yes, it is. It's a Greek and it's an earlier translation. So the same way in Islam,
there's a debate.
So in Islam, you have the Hafs Quran, you have the Wash Quran, you have the Al-Duri Quran. There are differences between those manuscripts.
But you won't have a missing ayah, so it's not a fair comparison. No, it's not a fair comparison. A missing ayah, a missing verse.
In your manuscript, yes.
Which one are you speaking about?
So your Sana. If you look at, there's a lady. Oh God, I need to go. Look at your manuscript. Your manuscript don't all match. So
no, I know that sometimes there's different synonyms used or there's vowelization, but I'm not aware that there's a different verse. Maybe
your earliest manuscripts don't match. So if you look at your Sana manuscript versus your I can't remember. Do you remember the names of your manuscripts?
What about the Sana manuscript? Does it have an additional verse which is not found in the Qurans today?
Verses.
Missing verses can be due to a number of reasons, right? I mean, there can be omission, there can be scribal error. It can be due to the damage of the text.
It could
correct?
be different. The point is, it doesn't match the same. That's
No. But the point is, once that variant becomes part of the transmitted text, once it becomes part of the Textus Receptus, that's when you have a problem, right? Errors, mistakes are not problems. Typos are not problems.
The point is,
but if a scribal error, it's a variant if it becomes part of the textual tradition. If it becomes part of the textual tradition, I mean, I could copy out the Bible right now and make a mistake. But that's not a variant. That's just my mistake. That's just my mistake.
Check what a variant means. A variant means when if we have two different manuscripts and there's difference, it could be one letter or it could be word. And we know from your hadiths, we know that there was changes.
But in this case,
we know there was no agreement.
Okay, there's a big difference between Hafs and Warsh. There's a big difference between Hafs and Warsh and what you were saying here. You are acknowledging the possibility that Matthew could have quoted from a version of the Old Testament, which we don't even have that prophecy anymore. We don't even have that saying anymore.
I'm saying let's not talk about that until
that's a lost.
No. I'm saying there's a possibility because we know that the what do you call it? The early disciples, they were quoting from the Old Testament from the Septuagint. So the Septuagint is a translation of the Hebrew Tanakh into Greek. Okay, so it means that there will be variation. I don't know in terms of I've not looked into it for Zechariah 3:8, but I'm saying it's not a problem. If you're saying that that's a problem, then that's also a problem for you guys because we know that there's not only one manuscript for the Quran. We don't even have that manuscript. We know from your earliest.
But it's not part of the Textus Receptus. It's not part of the inherited tradition. This is what I'm saying.
No, yes, part of inherited tradition. You have Sana manuscripts. You have your different manuscripts that don't match the Kyrene. You have your Kyrene manuscript. You have even in the Hadith where they're arguing about what should be in the Quran or not.
Okay, if all of this is correct, was the Quran eventually canonized into one standard edition?
It was supposed to have been canonized by Uthman, isn't it?
Right. So it was canonized then,
It was
at that
supposed
point.
to have been canonized since since the 7th century.
But has the Bible been canonized even now? Is the Bible? Could you say the Bible has been canonized now?
The Bible's canonized.
But there's not one agreed text today, right? There's not one agreed text today of the Bible between Christians.
There is a canon. There is a canon. But I'm saying.
But there's a Catholic canon versus a Protestant canon versus the Ethiopian Orthodox canon versus a Syriac Orthodox
Okay,
canon.
so should we have a conversation about canon?
I'm asking you if the Bible even has been canonized.
Okay, hang on. Should we have a conversation? Should we round up that conversation and then come back to canons? Yeah.
If you like.
Okay. So let's go back to that. Sorry, my apologies. We've gone all over the place. But
What was in Daniel 9 though that you wanted to show me? I'm just curious.
I did answer. Okay, Daniel 9. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
Okay.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to?
Sorry, one second.
So I'd like to ask a question, because you've been asking me questions. I'd like to ask you a question after this, if you don't mind. But, okay, Daniel 9:24.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you go.
Okay, so it says, do you want to read it? So,
70 weeks or 7, depending on the manuscript, are determined for your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression.
what manuscripts say 7 weeks?
Sorry?
What manuscripts say 7 weeks? Well, anyway, go on, just read what's there.
I think the Septuagint, Syriac, and Vulgate.
Where does it say? It says 7.
Or wait, hold on. Sevens. I don't know. Okay, or sevens. Sevens
seven.
weeks. Okay, so I don't know if it's 70 or sevens. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Okay, so
It's 70 or sevens. It doesn't matter to me.
okay.
Yeah.
It's complicated that we shouldn't talk about it now.
70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the Most High.
Okay. All right, so read verse 25.
Sorry?
Verse 25.
Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem